You are 19 years old. It is January 1944. You are standing in a kitchen in a town outside Hanover, holding a piece of paper. Your mother is not crying. She cried in 1942, when your brother's orders came. She stopped in April last year, when his letters stopped arriving from somewhere near Kharkov. Nobody ever told her anything more than that. So now she just takes the paper out of your hand, reads it, and puts it down on the table next to the bread. Your father says one sentence. He was at Verdun in 1916. He says, "Take the boots off a dead man before you take anything else." You think he's being cruel. You don't know it yet, but in 11 months, in a forest in Belgium, you are going to do exactly that, and it is going to be the reason you live. Your training is a fraction of what it was in 1940. Nobody says this out loud, but the older men in the barracks have worked it out. You are issued a Carabiner 98K, bolt action, 5 rounds at a time. It is the same rifle your father carried at Verdun, and it entered service in 1898. Ammunition for practice is rationed. There is a man in your unit who is 46 years old and was a printer until October. There are 2 boys who lied about their age and got in at 16. The veterans don't tell stories. They give you rules. Don't drink standing water. Don't sleep with your boots off. Never stand next to a vehicle when you hear aircraft. And never, ever waste ammunition. You nod. You don't understand yet that these are not tips. They are the 4 things that separate the men who came back from the men who didn't. In March, you are sent west, France. You expect a fortress. What you find is a construction site. You spend 12 weeks pouring concrete and driving stakes into sand. The propaganda calls it the Atlantic Wall. It is supposed to run from Norway to the Spanish border. You have seen 2 kilometers of it. In your sector, there are obstacles on the beach and almost nothing behind them. A field marshal named Rommel comes through in the spring and says the invasion has to be stopped in the first 24 hours, because after that there will be too many of them. He is right. Nobody gives him what he needs to do it. You keep pouring concrete. You get 1 day off in May. You go to the coast and look at the water, and it is completely empty all the way to the horizon. You remember that later. June 6th. You wake up at 4 in the morning because the ground is shaking. You think it's bombers, and it is, but it's also something else. You get to the observation slit and you look out and you stop. There are ships, not dozens. You start counting and you give up somewhere in the hundreds because there is no point, and because your hands have started shaking. Along the whole invasion front there are nearly 7,000 vessels. You cannot see all of them. You do not need to. Behind you, someone is trying to get through on the field telephone. The line is cut. Paratroopers came down in the dark hours ago and did that. For the next 2 hours you fire. The men on the beach come out of the ramps and go down, and the ones behind them come out and go down, and the ones behind them keep coming. The barrel on the machine gun beside you has to be changed twice. The loader does it in 8 seconds. He has practiced it 100 times. It does not matter. By the time the new barrel is on, there are more men on the sand than there were before. And somewhere in that morning you understand something that nobody prepared you for. You were trained to win the fight in front of you. Nobody explained what happens when winning it stops mattering. Behind every landing craft you destroy there is a factory. Behind the factory there is an ocean. And on the other side of that ocean there is a country that has never been bombed once. By nightfall they are ashore. You did everything correctly and it did not work. You spend the rest of June and all of July going backwards, not retreating in any organized way. Walking, mostly at night, because in daylight the sky belongs to them completely. You learn to fear engines. If you hear one, you stop moving and you don't move again until it's gone, even if it takes an hour. You see a column that didn't do that. You don't look for long. Your unit is supposed to have transport. Most of it is gone by the end of June, and the artillery is being pulled by horses, which is how it was pulled in 1941, and which is a detail nobody at home would believe. One morning you notice a man is missing. You ask about him. Nobody knows. You don't ask again. That becomes the rule. You stop learning names, not out of coldness, it's just easier. Then, in late June, rumors start coming from the east. You get fragments, a sentence in a briefing, something a replacement heard before he shipped out. The Soviets have attacked in Belarus. What you are not told is the size of it. 28 German divisions destroyed in 8 weeks. Around 400,000 men. An entire army group taken off the map. It is the largest defeat in German military history, larger than Stalingrad. And on the 17th of July, 57,000 German prisoners are marched through the center of Moscow. It takes most of the day to walk them past. Afterwards, street cleaning trucks come out and wash the road down behind them. You hear about it weeks later. Nobody talks about it for long. 3 days after that parade, a bomb goes off in a conference room in East Prussia. An officer named Stauffenberg has tried to kill Hitler. The briefcase gets moved to the far side of a heavy oak table leg, and the table takes the blast. Within a week, the military salute is abolished throughout the army and replaced with the Nazi salute. Political officers arrive to monitor morale. Arrests run into the thousands. Some of the officers are hanged with wire, and it is filmed. The message is not complicated, and everybody receives it. Nobody is going to negotiate an end to this. The war stops when one man decides it stops. You go back to your rifle. There is nothing else on offer. In August, the pocket at Falaise closes. Around 50,000 Germans are captured inside it. 10,000 are killed. Eisenhower walks the ground 2 days after it closes and says afterwards that the scene could only be described by Dante and that it was possible to walk for hundreds of yards, stepping on nothing but dead and decaying flesh. The army that walked into France in 1940 spends that August trying to get out of it alive. You cross into Germany in September, and that is the first moment the war becomes something else. You are not defending someone else's country anymore. You dig in at the Siegfried Line. It was built in the 1930s. Most of the guns were taken out years ago and sent east. Nobody mentions this. You dig anyway. In October, a decree is announced. Every remaining male between 16 and 60 is called up. A home guard. The Volkssturm. Old men and schoolboys with armbands and whatever rifles are left in the depots. You watch a group of them drilling in a field as your column moves past. Some of them are younger than you were in January. You don't say anything. Neither does anybody else. December 16th. You are asleep when the artillery starts and the whole forest shakes. Something has changed. Tanks are moving west. You are moving west. For the first time since Normandy, you are going forward, and for about 2 days it works. Everyone is saying the same word, Antwerp. And for 2 days you believe it. Then the column starts stopping. Not from enemy fire, fuel. And this is when you find out what the plan actually was. The offensive was never supplied with enough fuel to reach Antwerp. It was supposed to capture American fuel depots on the way and run on those. That was not a contingency. That was the plan. You walk past a Tiger tank standing on a road with no damage on it anywhere. 60 tons of steel. The crew has walked away. There is nothing wrong with it that 100 liters would not fix. On the 23rd, the fog lifts, and the Allied aircraft come back, and that is the end of it. It is -20 at night. Your boots have been wet since the 16th. And on the 4th day, in the snow, you find a man who has been dead long enough to be frozen, and you sit down next to him, and you take his boots, exactly the way your father told you to 11 months ago in a kitchen outside Hanover. You are not proud of it. You do it anyway. It is the reason you still have both feet in February. By January, you are going backwards again. The last armored reserve Germany had, the one that was supposed to hold the Rhine, has been spent in a forest for 4 days of ground that is given back in 3 weeks. You are 20 years old now. Your unit has veterans, and teenagers, and men who were factory workers in September. Everyone gets a rifle. Everyone gets orders. You stop thinking about winning. You stop thinking about the war ending. You think about one thing, and it is not victory. The 19-year-old in that kitchen believed the wall would hold. He believed the reports. He believed there was a plan and that somebody had checked it. He is gone. What's left is somebody who spent 12 months watching an army take itself apart from the inside, and who now knows exactly why his father said what he said. You started 1944 believing you were fighting to win a war. You ended it fighting to survive one. And there are 4 months left to go. That was your life as a German soldier in 1944. If you want to experience another chapter of the war from the soldier's perspective, like and subscribe.